Ms. Brooks, you state that after getting out of a 9-year relationship, you met and fell in love with Mr. Page, a younger man who you say swept you off your feet. You claim both you and Mr. Page plan to have a child together, but since giving birth to your son, Ivian, Mr. Page is now denying the child you so desperately wanted to have with him.
Yes,
is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Page, you state you know the child isn't yours because Ms. Brooks was having an ongoing affair with another man by the name of Tony Wilson.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say Mr. Wilson, who is also here today, claims to be the father of her son and has even posted pictures on social media to that effect.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Brooks, describe the nature of your relationship with the defendant.
Right now, our relationship is on the rocks. We really have no relationship. All we do is fuss and fight. He's denying our baby.
So you don't think it's your baby, Mr. Page?
No, it ain't mine.
Why do you think that?
Because she every time I come home from work, she out with Mr. Wilson. So I don't know what she's doing at work. When I'm at work, she calls me. When I'm at work, I call her. But when I'm getting off, she'll don't pick up, don't nothing. I call everybody that she hangs around with, they won't pick up. So to me, I think she tells them not to pick up the phone when everything's going on. When I come home, he might have my child holding him, whatever, I don't know.
You're the one that disappears every day. You're the one with the gambling
Going to work
problem.
isn't disappearing.
He goes to work every day, yes, he does. And when he gets paid, the next day, he is broke. He goes to the casino and spends all his money and may bring $30 inside of the home and then expect me to take care of him from the 2 weeks after that until he gets paid again. This is a routine that Mr. Page does.
So this relationship is in trouble not just because of the paternity issue, but other issues as well.
It stimulates from the paternity issues because at first, when we first got together, it was lovely. When I first was pregnant, he did everything. He was there, he was good, like during the pregnancy, and then everything changed. So I think it has a lot to do with
No, everything ain't changed, Your Honor. What changed is her not being home when I come home at night with her and my son being around Mr. Wilson, her friend. That's what it comes from.
This man, Mr. Wilson, was he the ex you were in a 9-year relationship with?
The ex that I was in a 9-year relationship with was a female. That means I had no penetration whatsoever in 9 years.
And she's still talking to her now.
Well, clearly she's not the father.
Right. She's not a problem. She's not a problem for him. He don't want me to talk to anybody. Anyone at all. It's only about him.
I want to understand your doubt about, because you were in a sexual relationship with her during this time.
Yes.
So you feel like she was cheating on you sometime during the window of conception.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Tell
Your
me
Honor.
about that doubt. What substantiates your doubt about the paternity?
She knew Black longer than she knew me, so they've been messing around or whatever they've been doing. I know Black's Facebook page is dedicated just to her and my son. And I have evidence right here saying that, yes.
Let me see this evidence. Jerome?
That is just my friend. We take
Tell me if that looks, please tell me if that looks like a relationship or a friendship.
We go out, Your Honor, he helps.
There's no space in between the bodies, Your Honor. They right up, if they wanted to turn around and kiss, they could kiss.
We are just that close, like that's how close
this is a picture of Mr. Wilson. This is his profile picture. And that's you, Ms. Brooks, and Mr. Wilson?
Yes, that's me and Mr. Wilson. Picture is just a picture, that's it.
Right, and that's the next one that I got right here, Your Honor.
These are all photos of you.
All dedicated to Mr.
Wilson. That's the baby in there?
Yes. But that's just a picture of me and the baby, though.
But they always with each other.
It's one of his profile pictures.
Yes, I'm the best thing that's...
I mean, look at that.
And then that's Mr. Wilson with Ivian.
Yes, and he has been there. Like, he is really upset because...
How has he been there?
He's been there because you're not.
I live right there with him. I buy milk, I buy what I got.
When you're not there, he is there. Mr. Page does do things, but he does the bare minimum.
I do the bare minimum, but I buy milk whenever she needs to. I'm the first person she calls when she needs something. Mr. Wilson isn't the first person that called. When she needed Mr. Wilson's not there. He's over wherever he's at getting drunk or whatever he's doing. She doesn't help me out. She calls me and tells me what to do, and I have to find a way to do it.
What am I helping you out for? I'm not your father.
Right, you the baby mother, so it should be 50-50. I should help and you should help.
What?
You don't help me do anything.
What, if I just come out of a high-risk pregnancy and the baby's only 8 months old, what did you expect me to do? That's when you were supposed to stand up and be there.
The pregnancy was 8 months ago.
When I had the baby in the hospital, he wasn't even there. He was there for the birth.
Oh, hold on, that's a lie. I was there. I waited till he was born and I left. I had to go to work. I can't call out 2-3 days in a row thinking I'm gonna still have a job. They don't care about that, so I had to go to work.
I'm afraid to ask this, but after Mr. Page left, did Mr. Wilson make an appearance?
Yes.
Yes, he made an appearance, but way later. Because I made him
He didn't come to the next day, but when I come to the place, I got my son ready to walk out the door. There's some lady like, oh, that's not your son. I seen some other guy holding him. Like,
really?
Yes.
If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell.
When Mr. Wilson walks around my son, he does not let it be known that he's not the father. He does not let it be known that he's the godfather.
But how was that my fault?
He's his father, because you're right with him. What do you
How was that my fault? No, and you know how I feel about that.
And
I'm talking to you. Your Honor, right now.
And he's walking around telling them that they're having sex and all this.
He's saying what?
That they're having sex.
Who's he telling this to?
Mr. Wilson does go around lying to people and saying that he had sex with me. I did not know that at first. I recently found out. Me and him had a problem with each other.
I heard it from her.
Of course, I told him this because
and they're
I'm
still
upset
best
about
friends.
this. Because no, but we were in the house first.
But they're still best friends.
We were in the house, Your Honor. Me and Tony just now became friends again because I was mad at him because I didn't know this. I ran into a female that lives in his same building, and she told me that he told me that they had sex together. I explained to her that that wasn't the case. So I went off. I was getting ready to go to fight her, and I was getting ready to fight Mr. Wilson because I know what's going on around and down in this area. How can she try to tell me what's going on in my area?
But every
I felt
time,
as though both of them should stay out of this
How you
area.
know what's going on in your area? But every time we argue, you're telling me I'm not the father, or somebody else is taking care of my son, or somebody else can, or you can get somebody to.
So when you have an argument?
Every time we argue, she tells me I'm not the father.
That's
this
because
is
he's
more
not
one,
the father,
2,
Your
3
Honor.
times.
We live in the same house.
I often have to tell young women this, and look, everybody's had an argument where they said something they regret or they shouldn't say, or say something to hurt someone, or just trying to make someone hurt as much as they've made them hurt.
Right.
But when we say things like that, you can't unring that bell. Once you ring it,
It's wrong.
yes. Jerome, I think it's time we meet Mr. Wilson.
You got it.
Please escort him into the courtroom.
I'll have you go up to the witness stand right next to the judge.
Mr. Wilson, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
Please describe for the court your relationship with Ms. Brooks.
Oh, we're still best friends. That's like one of the fellas, you know. That's my homie, except for she's female.
So you're best friends?
Yes.
What is your relationship like with her son, Ivian?
Well, I'll be honest, that's my godson. You know, I treat him like my son. I love him. On my lunch breaks, I stop past Sam. I spend time with him, take him to the park.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
How would that be a lie? You never there. You too busy playing the game, chilling with your homeboys and friends.
Why do you say he's lying?
I'm from Glen Burnie, Your Honor. We live in Baltimore. I don't have no homeboys and friends. When I get off, I go to work, get off work. I might play the video game, but best believe my son got a bottle in his mouth, or my potential son has a bottle in his mouth. He's laying there about to go to sleep.
Is that where you try to complete it the next level, get to the next level to play on your video games? That's when you do all this?
Are we serious right now?
He does the bare minimum, Your Honor. It's like I said, it's like being a single parent in the home with somebody. Every time I ask him to do anything as far as Ivian, he has a problem with it. And at the end of the day, my son doesn't have another side of the family.
Have you told people, Mr. Wilson, that you're Ivian's father?
Your Honor, yes.
Yeah.
See, what happened was, it was this girl I was dealing with, and to make her mad and make her jealous, because she had an issue with Miss Brooks because her hair was long and she wear tracks and Miss Brooks has on fingernails, she has on press-ons. I was just making her be jealous. But due to social media is something else. Let me tell you. She put all my business up. I think Santa Claus even know about the situation. But the only person I spoke with was that particular female that I was dealing with, which was my ex.
That's not the only person you told that to. And he got too many. He's a thot. He got too many baby mamas already. They don't even call him his name where we live at. They call him Baby Father. That's his name. That's his name. And the females that he deal with in me is two different type of females. That's why I would never date Mr. Wilson. And plus, he's not my type. Look, date.
But he lied on you. Why are you still best friends with him?
He don't have no choice but to lie on me. Look at his
Why are you
girls.
best friends with him?
What?
Because he's done a lot of stuff.
Mr. Wilson, are you in love with Miss Brooks?
Yeah, during a period of time, yeah, I'm in love with her, but I'm never step a train that boundary what them two have together as far as Mr. Page. But if it came to a chance down the line, yeah, I would if she would allow it, but I don't step in that boundary. I just keep it as a friendship.
My perspective is if somebody lying on me telling him I had sex with him and that's a whole lie, I would never be friends with him again.
Listen, his issue is you're just so close to this man, right? And then when he's lying, you say, this is not the truth. You are not sleeping with him, never slept with him.
No, not at all.
But he's telling people you have.
Right.
He's telling people he's your child's father, and you telling Mr. Page he's not the child's father.
But
that's where his doubt.
But Your Honor, I knew.
Every time I go to work, my son go over his house. Every day. One night I was calling him from my job. She been called, we talking to her at the job. But once I get off, I can't get a hold of him. When I get to the house, my son is not there. She's not there. Nobody's picking up the phone. I'm walking all around.
So what about when you disappear for days at a time?
I don't disappear. I go
Yes,
to
you
work.
do. You disappear for days at a time. Every day when you leave out there, your phone not even on. You don't even call while you at work. If you call while you was at work, then you would know where your son was at. You don't know. You just find out at the end of the day.
I just told you where my son was at.
Not every day.
Every time I'm at work, she thinks I'm over there messing with some woman.
Because you
She'll
are.
call me. I'll be, hello?
I have proof
Hello?
that he was messing
She
with
not
you.
even trying to talk. She want to listen to what's going on in the background. And sometimes she'll call, my pocket might pick it up. She'll be on the phone for a whole hour, sitting there listening. You was talking to, there's so much conversations going on
His phone does
around.
pocket dial
She
me.
swears I'm doing
And guess
something.
what? I do listen because I want to hear what's going on. He said, why you listen to my my conversation for 25 minutes? Because you was talking for 25 minutes. So that's why I listened.
Ms. Brooks, I have to ask you before we go to the results. This triangle
It's sick.
has been in effect for a while.
Yes.
And the only way we're going to be able to move forward is to get the results. But Ms. Brooks, I have to ask you, when I open these results, I'm not going to get any surprises. You say you have not cheated on Mr. Page.
No, never. I was like a virgin. I'm like a born-again virgin. I didn't have sex for 9 whole years. 9 whole years. It's no possible way. And like, he's like my first all over again. You know, I care about him in that way. I cared about him in that way. If it wasn't for his actions during all this, I would still love him just the same. But all this has broken me. Like, only person I care about right now is my son, because that's who it's affecting right now. Him having a father. I never had one. He never had one. Now, he's trying to take away from him having one, and he's just crazy if you ask me.
So, Mr. Page,
I ain't
you
crazy.
say-
I've been there. Whatever they want to lie about right now, I live in the house. The milk they got right and she has, come out my pocket.
but if it's determined you are not, do you still want to be in a relationship with
No.
Ms. Brooks?
No, done.
You don't got no money anyway.
Okay.
All right, it's
But
time
you're
for the
always
results.
asking me for my
Jerome?
money. Just 2 weeks
Thank
ago,
you.
I gave you $100.
This casino.
I gave you $100. Just keep making them bottles of milk.
Do we want to hear the results?
Yes, Your
Or do we want to keep running our mouths?
Results, please.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Brooks versus Page, as it pertains to 8-month-old Ivion Page, as to whether Mr. Page or Mr. Wilson is the biological father, it has been determined by this court. You are not the father.
Told you. Told you.
Mr. Page, you are the father.
Told you. Told you. Told you. Now, round me my money. It don't make no sense that I had to go through all of this just to prove that. All of this.
No sense that you with somebody who keep lying on you. That don't make no sense.
Mr. Page, you finally know the truth. Does it feel good?
Yeah, it do feel good.
I can see the emotion in your eyes.
Thank you.
You're happy
Yes.
to know for certain
For sure.
that Ivion is your son.
Yes.
And Ms. Brooks,
Yes.
you've been vindicated. You
Yes.
said it was in fact his child.
Yes.
It is. Now it's time to focus on the future and what's most important.
My son.
Yes. He's most important, Ivion. And you all laugh and joke and talk about one another and all this rumor, and you got to figure out how to manage your best friend that lies on you. It's a lot going on here.
Yeah, some things I might have to let go.
Mr. Kennedy, you claim to be a nice guy who was forced to make the tough decision to drag the defendant to court to prove you did not father her 3-month-old son, Christian. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Pope, you and your mother are insulted that Mr. Kennedy denies paternity and refuse to acknowledge your child. You say he laid down with you and now he has to step up and pay. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Kennedy, why do you believe that Ms. Pope claims you're the father of her 3-month-old baby?
I believe she's just looking for someone to pin it on or pick up the slack from her previous, encounter.
And so, take me back to the nature of your relationship.
It started off as just friends. We met through a mutual friend. It got physical once we got to know each other, and it...
So did you all enter into a committed relationship? Were you boyfriend and girlfriend?
No.
Brief. I would
No?
say briefly.
No, we never did. It never had a chance to take off. We did get along in the beginning, but he was a jerk, and I no longer wanted to be around that.
So wait a minute, why were you sleeping with him if he was a jerk?
He came off as an all-American guy in the beginning. We had a lot of things in common. We had the same birthday, the same football team.
That's enough to sleep with somebody, Jerome. Birthday and a football team.
Okay.
So the bottom line is you all got along in the beginning and you started a sexual relationship with him.
Yes, Your Honor.
At what point did you realize this all-American guy wasn't what he seemed to be?
When he started to say that I had feelings over my ex, and that wasn't the case. If I was not over my ex, I wouldn't be trying to involve myself with anybody else.
So wait a minute, Mr. Kennedy. You saying that's not true?
Yes, Your Honor.
What is your version?
My version is we were friends from the beginning, and then it became, friends with benefits, kind of a ordeal.
All right, so then you were just basically, you call it friends with benefits.
Yes,
but
Your
you
Honor.
were having a sexual relationship.
Yes, Your
and you were not using protection?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So, Ms. Pope, at some point you say the tables start to turn in your mind.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because he accuses you of having feelings for your ex?
That's not even remotely true. The reason why my feelings had changed was because she didn't have a GED. She didn't have a future plan going for her. At the time, I was going to school for my associates in criminal justice. I was working and raising my first son. And it wasn't until my friend told me, she doesn't have anything going for her at the moment, so you need to drop it like a bad habit.
Wait a minute. No, a bad habit is sleeping with someone you barely know without using protection. That's a bad habit. Now, I don't know if this young woman can be labeled a bad habit.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so now you did make the decision to kind of pull back from this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so when she says he starts being a jerk and not returning my calls, the truth is you were doing that.
Yeah. I admit it, yeah.
All right, Ms. Pope, at least that part of your testimony has been substantiated. So I want to understand the moment when you find out you're pregnant. What happens?
I found out that I was pregnant at 6 weeks. I had a cutie one morning and threw it up at work. I put the 2 and 2 together. It wasn't rocket science, and I knew that I was pregnant. And after that point, he really didn't have much to say over the fact that I was.
And Mr. Kennedy, do you remember when she told you she was pregnant?
She told me around May or June or July. At that point, she had said there were 2 other gentlemen involved, and I had asked her, could it potentially be mine? And she said, no, you're in the clear. So at that point,
I never said he was in the clear.
But wait, you also didn't say there were 2 other men involved, Ms. Pope, when you just testified. You can't leave things out as important as that. We're in paternity court. Those facts matter. I want to understand, when you told him that, did you tell him, I'm pregnant, but don't worry because there's 2 other men?
No, Your Honor, I never told him not to worry. This is something that he needs to worry about. Obviously, he already has a son.
If you count from May 6th to January 26th or 28th, whenever the child was born, that's 40+ weeks.
So the bottom line is you did the
children.
math and subtracted yourself out the equation.
That's exactly what he did.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out. Now,
I didn't hear from her until after the child was born saying, you're the father.
I'm not about to beg for support.
wait a minute, how did she tell you were the father?
Through Facebook, I got messages.
Jerome, let me see those messages.
And it had been...
So wait a minute, it is your testimony, I want to be clear. It is your testimony that she did not tell you she even had the baby until after the baby was already here. She didn't tell you anything about the pregnancy, anything. You didn't hear from her until after the baby was born.
Yes,
I had
Governor.
messaged him the night
And you
that I
get
went into
some
labor.
messages.
Yes, Your Honor.
Let me read through these messages. I've been trying to get a hold of you. I wanted to call you and talk. And you reply, about. And she replies, would you like to guess? And then you reply, no. And then Ms. Pope says, okay, well, I'm not sure how to say this, so I'll just show you. And you sent a picture of the baby.
Yes, it looks just like him.
So when you saw this message, Mr. Kennedy, what did you think?
I asked her straight point blank, are you sure it's mine? Because the last information I was given, there were 2 other gentlemen involved. So I wasn't exactly sure if it truly was mine or not. I made a promise to my children, any children that I had, I'm gonna be the father I never had. So
If that's your promise, where is it at then?
You didn't tell me until after the child was born.
Showing up
How am I
one
supposed to
time
know
is
it's
not
my
enough.
child unless you don't tell me right away? You told me there were 2 gentlemen involved.
You were never involving yourself to begin with.
I didn't think I had to. You told me there were 2 other men involved.
Were there 2 other men involved, Ms. Pope?
Yes.
I took a 6-hour trip out of my day to go up and actually see the child with my own eyes just to make sure she was being truthful. I didn't get anything until after the child was born.
So when you took the time and went up to see Christian, what happened?
I just held him for a while, trying to gather, anything, any kind of, quirks that might relate him to myself or my other, kids or anything like that. Trying to find any similarities between him and I, and that was basically it. I just went up mainly just to see the baby from my own eyes, just to make sure that this wasn't a ruse of some sort.
He did come. He came to see us. My mom came in and she said, oh, you look just like Christian. I don't know why he's trying to deny it now. It's not about the 2 other gentlemen. It's about the fact that he needs to step up to the plate.
Your Honor, there's no plate to step up to if I didn't know the plate was there.
Well, he does now.
How am I supposed to step up to a plate when you specifically tell me I'm not the father and then months later try to get me to step up? I would have been there from the beginning if you would have told me 100%, this is my child.
It's not a choice.
But, Ms. Pope, you do have to own the fact that once you tell a man or he becomes aware that there are 2 other possibilities, you do have a responsibility to get clarity on that. Do you agree with that? And that's why you're here.
Your Honor, can I have something to say? I've been picking up the pieces from my daughter, and I've been her main support. And the day that he came to my house, I told him he looked just like my grandson, and he accepted.
I was told it wasn't mine. That's the bottom line.
Listen, I think what's so important is, listen, Mom, you needed to have your say. You needed to explain where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And I understand that.
Yeah.
Your daughter admitted that there were maybe 2 other possibilities. When you tell a man that there are maybe 2 possibilities, that equals doubt. That's what it is.
Your Honor, I had sent her messages briefly after that, asking about, well, if it is mine, can we get a paternity test just to verify? It was.
But I'm not going to depend on all talk. I want to
wasn't-
see some action.
Well, what action when you didn't have any action to begin with?
Well, I beg to differ. There was definitely some action going on. That's why we're here, right?
I have
John.
paternity papers and everything ready for him to sign.
But I have the results, and that's going to determine whether or not he should execute those papers.
Yeah, he never came to my door and said, I'm ready to figure this out. Let's go do this. Let's get this done.
You didn't inform me about any of this until after he was already born.
Ms. Pope, what I think I feel like you're missing is that you did admit that there were two other possibilities. And
Yeah,
what
I admitted it.
What he's saying is he took the approach, if you didn't reach out to him and you didn't include him, you must not have really thought he was the father. I understand your mom's approach, where her thought process is if you think you potentially could be a child's father, you need to follow up and make sure you are not this child's biological father.
He's too concerned about who are other options when to begin with. He never told me who was on the other side of his gate. I also found out that there was another woman in his life that also had a child 3 months prior to me. If he would have told me that he was with somebody else and that she was also pregnant, I would have never even bothered with him.
And that's not great to hear. I understand
He wasn't
that.
truthful about that. I was truthful about the other two men that I was with.
Yeah, after she had asked you and pried it out of you.
Listen, it sounds like both of you admitted that it was just a relationship where you were friends with benefits. So you didn't have a commitment.
No, Your Honor.
And that's why I say all of the time, young people, you all having sex and playing it like it's Monopoly, and it's not better with more people. It's not. It really isn't. It just isn't. Because it gets complicated.
It does. He used me to cheat on somebody else. And that's the worst part of it.
Were you developing a love and a real admiration for him only to find out that he had been with another woman the whole time and that she was pregnant too?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's what really hurt.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so now listen, you are not the first young woman who has accepted a casual relationship with a man, but developed stronger feelings. You're not alone in that. And how did that make you feel?
I felt like an option in his life, that he could just pick and choose whose life he wants to mess with.
Have you ever had a chance to tell him how that made you feel?
Yes, I have.
And
I told him that it sucks to feel like an option.
And you felt like you were just one of his options.
Yes, Your Honor.
And now you feel like your baby, he's basically opted out of your baby.
Yes.
Take a moment and just explain to him how you really felt.
I felt like I wasn't going to give my son the life he deserves because I didn't know whether or not to have a complete jerk who is a father in his life, or to just say the best things about you and hope that, maybe one day you'll choose to step up to the plate and be there for him.
Not once did I say I would not be there for the child. I just want to verify that it's truly mine and I'm not going to be taking care of someone else's.
How did we get to this point? Seemed like you all had this understanding. You sleeping with other people, she was sleeping with other people. Okay, it's a mess. You get pregnant, you don't know exactly who the father is, but I can see now what was happening. Once she realized that she was an option to you, then she was entertaining other men, probably just to try to have something to do while she knew you were with somebody else. And I tell young women that this is not a game you're ever gonna beat a man at. Women can do a lot of things. We are very powerful, but we rarely win this game. Because somehow we slip up and get pregnant. This never changes, does it, Jerome? The saga never changes. If you try to go tit for tat with a man on having casual sex and trying to get back with, something's gonna happen, and when you end up pregnant, the buck stops. And Ms. Pope, as much as I understand your plight better now, I wanna ask you this, I have to. If he is not Christian's biological father, do you know where the other two gentlemen are?
Yes, Your Honor.
You do. And would they want to be a part of Christian's life? Would they make themselves available to testing so that we can get this confirmed once and for all for this beautiful baby?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. With that said, Jerome, I'm ready to get the results.
Okay.
Thank you. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Kennedy versus Pope, when it comes to 3-month-old Christian Pope, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Kennedy, you are the father. You are the father.
All right.
How do you feel?
Like I got a lot of work to do.
Ms. Pope,
Thank you, Your Honor.
you're welcome. This is why we're here. Not just for you, but for Christian,
Yes.
because now he gets to know his dad and grow up with his dad.
Yes.
Would it be okay if Christian saw his father
Yes, that's what I
in
want
my
for him.
chambers?
Yes, that's what I want for him.
Excellent. We've got to accept that these results, we've now planted a seed for a new day. He didn't know for sure. And so now we're here and there is no more doubt because we have the answer.